Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, beautiful weeby listeners. This is the Uncensored Anime Podcast. My name is David. I'm joined here with my friends Kenny and Jerry.
What's up, y'all?
And this is episode 3. And, I had no idea that we would make it this far, but we got 70 viewers on our first
70 views.
episode,
we're really happy.
We're hitting the big stream.
Yeah, what a crazy experience.
Yeah, so
like, comment, and subscribe.
Please, like, subscribe, comment.
Yeah, if you're just tuning in.
So this week's episode, we're going to be talking about Beastars. Going to be talking about Wotakoi. Life is hard for Otaku. We have a few updates from Jerry, and we also have a special present from Kenny near the end of the podcast. So let's hop right to it. So Jerry, what is our weekly news?
Absolutely, let's get into it, guys. So just like every week, we want to talk a little about some anime news that's going on right now before we jump into our first reviews. David nailed it. We're talking Beastars. We're talking Wotakoi tonight. We're going to have a lot of fun. Probably not spend as long, hopefully, unless we've been getting into it pretty heavy in these last 2 episodes. So these 2 shows are much more light, which I think should be fun. But the big thing I want to talk to you guys about this week, and I think this news actually dropped like a week or 2 ago. I don't remember exactly. Maybe closer to San Diego Comic-Con, so it might have even dropped like a month ago. But the news has come out that a classic anime show from our childhood is getting a full-blown reboot, right? You guys know which one it is?
That's
Shaman King!
Shaman King!
Shaman King!
Yeah, did you ever watch Shaman King? What's that face?
I did not.
Oh, David!
I want Zatch Bell.
I want Zatch Bell. That's all you want. Okay, so yeah.
You're like, Zatch Bell's coming back?
A very surprising... David thought it was Zatch. David was like, they're rebooting Vampire Night?
Yes, Vampire Night!
It needs it bad.
He was like, oh my god, Vampire Night, finally again. No, but they're rebooting Shaman King, which comes as quite a bit of a surprise to me, at least. I don't think Shaman King is like heralded as one of the best of the shonen genre. It's definitely considered in some ways a cult classic. It definitely had that vibe to it, and as we know here in America, it aired on 4Kids, which is really not a strong platform for anime in America. They kind of are considered terrible when it comes to anime dubbing and have gone out of business. I don't think that they exist anymore, if I remember correctly. I'm pretty sure they're completely defunct now. So, that's the only experience that a lot of American kids, a lot of American anime audiences have to Shaman King was the dub that aired on, Saturday mornings, which is a pretty unique experience to think about. Because if you know anything about the original story, about the manga, or about even the original dub of the show, the Japanese version of the show, the series is a little bit darker than 4Kids handled it. And they actually, I think, cut out full episodes, if I'm remembering correctly. Episodes that they didn't feel were rightful for, American audiences, whatever. But this reboot definitely provides us an opportunity. I can't imagine anything but like Funimation most likely getting their hands on Shaman King when it comes to the dub. And then most likely we'll be getting, I would assume, a simulcast of it when it starts airing, probably through Crunchyroll or Funimation, Hulu, or Amazon, one of those sites. Maybe Netflix.
If it comes to Netflix, that means we won't get it till the end of the season.
Yeah, which is always frustrating a little bit. But I think that I'm excited for this because I think that it'll give us all an opportunity to revisit Shaman King, but also give us an opportunity to learn about Shaman King. Because most of us probably didn't take the time to look at the manga at all. I know I only have brief memories of reading through parts of it, but overall, this is an opportunity for another generation to get their hands on Shaman King. It's kind of like what happened, and Tibbs, I don't know if you've watched the show either. Have you watched Hunter x Hunter?
I've watched the new version.
Oh, you did watch the 2011 Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, I've watched the 2011 version.
Okay,
right.
Cool.
So I imagine that this Shaman King experience is going to be similar. That's my guess. So they're saying that this is going to be, Shaman King Brotherhood. This is going to be Hunter x Hunter 2011. This is a full-blown, they're going to adapt the entire series beginning to end as a brand new anime series coming out. I'm not sure what studio is attached to it yet. I don't know if they announced that, but it should be out by 2021, so sometime next year. So this is the main... This is just
April.
Oh, April, you found the date? Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Is there a studio on there? Did you see anything? Because I don't think I remember.
No, I was about to ask you if you've seen, because I'm just looking at the Wikipedia page. It just says Shaman King will premiere in April 2021, but I don't see any other information.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much all we've got. I think that for now we just know it's coming back. It's going to be a full reboot. It's going to be the whole series, and it's going to be done right this time. And it's going to be with a whole new studio. So we don't know what it's going to look like, really. We haven't had any key visuals released, anything like that, which is very interesting. Overall, I'm excited. I'm just excited for it, is what I would say. I'm surprised. I already saw companies that are putting out new statues of Shaman King characters, literally on pre-order already for later this year. They're releasing brand new statues, and I'm not surprised. They're prepping. I'm sure they're prepping for something similar to what happened with Hunter, right? Hunter, prior to 2011, was a pretty niche anime. It was not a mainstream shonen. As much as it did run in Shonen Jump and was made by the guy who made Yu Yu Hakusho, by no means was it like one of the big shonen, right? Kenny, and Kenny, what's your take on that?
Well, I mean, I remember because I liked it whenever it was in manga form. It was just before he went on hiatus, right? And Chimera Ant was not even, I don't even think it was halfway done. We hadn't, a lot of very important parts of that hadn't occurred. And so it wasn't popular. There weren't you couldn't find other fans of it. And at that time I was such a big fan of it. And it whenever that 2011 anime came out and it really adapted the show at the manga as I saw it, it was really a really good opportunity. And I'm excited about Shaman King. I think that Shaman King is one of my favorite young kid mangas. It's just like a Digimon. How Digimon just came back with a whole new reboot.
Oh yeah, Tibbs, even though the Digimon reboot,
that's a whole new story.
Yeah, we've been watching it. Me and my roommates have been watching that every week.
Yes, I love it.
Shaman King has me excited. I think that Disney hit on that. Everybody loves nostalgia, and so they're like, well, let's just reboot old good animes. I wouldn't be surprised if we get a new Yu Yu Hakusho or a new,
Yo,
I mean,
it's tough. It's tough with Hakusho because it adapted the manga word for word, beginning to end. There's almost no filler, and they adapted the ending. The anime was lucky enough that it ended right after the manga ended. So the anime and the manga have the same ending, which is kind of good on, it just wasn't done very often in that time, but Hakusho is one of those lucky shows. So I don't know if it'd be cool to see a reboot, just like we just got Saint Seiya as a reboot, which is was weird. I mean,
there's Sailor Moon, Dragon Ball Z, Hunter x Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it's definitely
some shows are getting rebooted. I mean, which is cool.
Yeah, we're definitely living in this age where people are going, oh, it'd be cool to do this show, or even Banana Fish and JoJo's. Both those are mangas from the 80s that are finally getting their moment to shine, where they're getting turned into full blown anime adaptations. Those are two that came to mind just because obviously we talked about Banana Fish last week, but with JoJo's as well. It's I would have never imagined I would ever see JoJo's Bizarre Adventure merch at Hot Topic when I was in middle school and I first got showed JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. You know what I mean?
Right.
I remember when I first read a manga volume of it, thinking this is weird, and then watching parts of the OVA, I was like, no way will I ever see that as a mainstream American show. And now 5 seasons into the full adaptation they've been doing, and you can't even walk into Hot Topic, GameStop. You can't walk into those places without seeing some sort of JoJo's t-shirt, JoJo's bag, JoJo's figure, something along those lines. So it's everywhere now, just like Hunter x Hunter was the same way, In middle school, I had 2 volumes. We have 2 volumes of Hunter x Hunter, Kenny. I still have them. And I remember reading those in middle school and lending them out to my friends in middle school. And they're like, this is a weird show. Because that's when we first watched the old anime, the original anime, on Crunchyroll.
Weird. And...
Yeah. We watched that anime on Crunchyroll before Crunchyroll was legal. It was back when it was illegal. That's when we watched it on Crunchyroll.
I remember getting the Fushigi Yugi DVDs from Netflix, bro. That was one of those. Weird. I remember we stayed up all night because we ordered 4 of the DVDs for Fushigi Yugi. So we just stayed up all night and watched Fushigi Yugi.
Right.
And then we woke up and it was we didn't wake up, but we got done and it was 7 a.m. And Dad had gone to work already. And we walked out to the park and walked around because it was whoa, we just stayed up all night.
Fushigi Yugi, baby.
Yeah. Oh,
the only time it's so weird that I have not captured that feeling again until when I was in grad school, or maybe when I was in undergrad. And Alyssa and I, my wife and I, we watched all of Haikyuu, the first season, in one sitting, and we stayed up the entire night watching it. And we actually until the sun came out the next morning. And I'm that's what I missed about anime, right? Being able to just stay up all night and just watch a show and be so invested in it, and then be oh my god, I love that. Demon Slayer did that to me. Haikyuu did that to me. Some of the new shows are starting to feel like that again, right? Where it's you just want to invest in it. But yeah, the main thing is Shaman King and reboots. I think that reboots are helpful in some ways because it shows a new generation like David, for you, like, you know, you never watched the OG Shaman King, so you think you'll watch the new one?
I'm excited. I definitely will watch it. I think because like a long time ago, I would. What was that? Not Jump Force.
Oh,
Jump
like
Ultimate Force.
the one on the DS.
Jump Ultimate Stars. Yeah, I think there was a Shaman King character in that game.
You can play as
Yoda. And that was the first time I ever saw that character. I was like, oh, this character looks cool. And I've heard of Shaman King here and there, but I've obviously watched it. But I wanted to say something that I thought of while we were having this discussion. And kind of like the main idea behind this podcast is that, you know, we're talking about how big a deal it is for animation to be as successful as they are. They like carry series. Like with Hunter x Hunter, its animation is beautiful, its music is beautiful, it knocks it out of the park. And before the 2011 adaptation, you know, manga alone, Hunter x Hunter, according to this, is one of the best selling manga of all time. But Western audiences most likely have never heard of it. So it's good to give, you know, manga that have, you know, earned the right to be as successful as they are, to give a new audience. So I'm excited for Shaman.
Yeah, right. You got to think about like Kochikame, like it is the longest running manga of all time. Like, well, there isn't a good.
It was the longest running manga of all time. It's right. Over. Yeah.
Well, I know. Whenever it's finished, I think it's still technically the longest serialized.
Right? It is. Yeah.
Don't worry, I'll fact check.
I'm pretty sure Kochikame is still the longest, but you could be.
It's not.
Check it, David.
You know, Western audiences don't even know. They're like, "What? What is it called? Kochikame? What's it about? Who's the main character?" I've never heard of that. And you're like, "This is maybe one of the biggest mangas of all time." You know?
Yeah, they have a statue for the main character of Kochikame in Japan, and that's one of those things. It's like it's a shonen staple. You know, it's a part of the shonen genre forever and always because it ran for so long. And I think that as a Western fan of shonen manga, most likely that series is Dragon Ball to you, right? Like, it's not Kochikame like it is to them. Or even like when you go in Japan and you think about anime, you can see all sorts of notes that like Sazai-san and Doraemon are much more popular characters from anime. You know, those are when you ask someone who's maybe not a fan of anime, because it's the same, you know, in Japan and in the West. There are people that are fans of anime in Japan. You don't just like walk into Japan like everyone loves anime. That's not how it happens. But you know, they know Doraemon, and I know, right? And they know Sazai-san, and then Kochikame is like on that level of iconic type of charactering, and they know Goku. You know, like Goku is still a very worldwide popular character. There's no denying that, and
absolutely.
But you know, you see that. But yeah, it's great, David. You made a great point about it's time to give some of these series that were iconic the reputation they deserve. Hunter x Hunter. I'm so surprised we got Hunter x Hunter Funko Pops this year, because I never thought that Hunter x Hunter was going to be popular enough in the West for Funko to ever say like, oh yeah, I want to create figures of that series. I would have never imagined that would be a thing. And so it's been really cool to see that come about, that we have Hunter x Hunter Funko Pops. Who knows what's going to come next after that? You know, maybe we finally get JoJo's Bizarre Adventure ones. I'd be blown away. Maybe we'll get Shaman King.
Are there not JoJo Funko Pops?
Nope, they haven't done. There's a lot of anime that are.
That's crazy.
Yeah, there are a lot of anime that are not, and it's because of their popularity in the West. I mean, when you boil it down to it, like, what are the popular animes in the West, right? Like, I don't know. There's a pretty short
My Hero
list.
Academia.
Yeah, My Hero now. Surprisingly, Demon Slayer, Attack on Titan. You know, those are the ones that people in America
the animation
are watching. Those are the ones that people in America are tuning into. And I think that this is going to be a weird moment where like Shaman King might, if done right, it might have its moment, which will be super cool because a lot of us have some nostalgia for it. I know I do. Kenny, I'm sure you do too, because we watched it as kids. And I used to like draw Yo. Like I have like doodles of Yo when I was younger because I loved him. And Jesus, I forget his little spirit guy's name. I'm something like that. I don't remember. It's like Asa something or Amateur something.
His name is Asakura, right?
Asakura.
Yo Asakura.
Oh, well, shoot! That's Yo Asakura. Yeah, that is his name. Yeah.
I know that he like shouts his name whenever he puts it in his arm. Yeah. Right. He's like,
I'm a something. Dude,
I remember.
I'm so hyped for Shaman King.
Shaman King was around that time that we were watching like Mare and like Hikaru no Go. Like,
yes. Yeah. Oh my god! I just had a wave in a.
Isn't that a weird memory? That's when do y'all remember that came out when Toonami thought that they were going to start their own like streaming
their own like web service.
Yeah, they had their own
bro.
Toonami Jetstream, I think it was called.
And it was lit. It was
that was way the fact that existed like way before all the other, and then 3 years later now it became like the big thing to put anime online like that. That was way ahead of its time, and that's crazy.
Also, Mare's an isekai.
Mare is an isekai. It's an old isekai, but it is 100%.
Yeah.
He also plays.
I enjoyed.
You
Mare
remember
so
Mare?
much. Yeah, Mare was one of the anime. It was like 4 or 5 anime, and Mare was the one that I watched and was obsessed with. Troy, I remember, was obsessed with Hikaru no Go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Mare and Hikaru no Go are the only two I remember from that period. Oh, Prince of Tennis was on that service.
Yeah,
and I think there was another one, and I'm not remembering. I feel like it would have been the one that nobody watched or something. Oh, maybe Blue Dragon was on there too. I think the Blue Dragon anime was on there.
Remember?
I think it was Blue Dragon, and I think it was. There may have been one other one, but beside the point, that was a weird time in life. And yes, that is the Shaman King period and the Zatch Bell. I've been wanting to rewatch Zatch Bell too, David.
Zatch Bell is pretty fun.
That shit was prime, low key. Like it was kind of prime.
It was,
especially because it reminds me so much of the Fate series, and I never was able to detach that. Like Fate Stay Night and Zatch Bell, it was like same show. It's the same show. There's just monsters. They just summon them and they fight with them. It's the same show. Fate Stay Night, Zatch Bell.
Battle Royale.
As the resident Fate weeb here, we got to do some Fate one of these days.
I'll have to watch it.
We did.
I think Unlimited Blade works out of all of them.
I think I watched the very first Fate Stay Night.
Me too. I think I've only seen Stay Night, and that's all I've seen.
Hey,
so I want to.
You want to hear a weird thing from the visual novels that isn't present in the anime is that to transfer mana more efficiently, they fuck. At like near the end when
I heard that's pretty effective. So
yeah, in the before the final battle, like
you have to have sex with all 15 sabers in order to progress. All 37 sabers.
You gotta fuck all the sabers, bro.
Every saber that exists in the world. There's so many sabers, but they're not the same saber. They're not the same saber. One is King Arthur, right? One's King Arthur. They're all different sabers.
One's King Arthur. Okay.
I feel like what you're saying is just random garbage, but it's probably accurate to what the plot of Fate is.
Lionheart, I think.
It is random garbage, but it is accurate. It's sad.
Yeah.
That's a show we might have to do a whole episode on Fate where David and I watch as much as we can and then come back and report back because I've heard it's
20 series.
It's a clusterfuck when it comes down to it. So
well, it's because the original Fate visual novel type game has 3 different paths, and only the first one is the first path, which is the Fate Stay Night, where you get to a relationship with Saber. And then Unlimited Blade Works, the second path, which just recently came out. And finally, Heaven's Feel is being made into 3 new movies.
Right.
I think 2 of them are out now. But then there's so many, Fate Alter or Fate Extra or Fate, which are just more characters adapted in different scenarios.
Is Saber in all of them?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I think one has 4 different sabers, David. No.
Well, yeah. So, because Saber is just a class, and Saber, our main character, is Arthur Pendragon. But often there are 3 or 4 other ones. She's like Ramses as well. Because there's
a bunch that look like Arthur Pendragon, though. So
correct. But they're different colors or different outfits, or
it's pretty weird.
Or
that sounds like a wild ride.
Yeah, we'll have to talk about. That's definitely on our queue.
Future content listeners, get excited for Fate Stay Night.
Fate Stay Confusion. That's what
episode question mark because we don't know.
Actually, we should all just play the visual novel.
Jesus Christ! I don't think I could stomach it, but I might.
We could play it together.
Can you play it online? Can I get it on Steam?
I don't think you can get it on Steam.
Oh, okay. Well,
it can still be obtained.
Oh. You can get it.
We'll figure this out. This out.
Okay, so Shaman King coming back in April. I think that's exciting news. Another shonen series revived from the dead, given its moment to shine. I'm excited to see where it goes. I hope that we have some time to talk about it in the future because I do love the series when I was younger, and I'm excited to see what happens with the new version. So I think it's time, boys, to go ahead and jump in to our first series of the night, which is one that we all were able to enjoy this year. I think that I was just drawn to it for different... I think everyone's drawn to it for different reasons, but that is
Beastars. A big studio Zootopia.
A big Beastars, right? So, for those of you who haven't heard of it...
Zootopia by Disney.
It is available on Netflix. It is available on Netflix in the United States. So, if you haven't seen it, go check it out. But, Kenny, go ahead and give us our... Can you give us our synopsis?
Yeah, so,
what's Beastars about, Kenny?
Beastars is about animals in school life, basically. I mean, that's the simplest thing.
Animals?
It's about beasts.
It's about beasts.
That would be stars.
And basically, our main character is Lugosi. He's a wolf. And he obviously has primal instincts where he wants to hunt other animals that are prey. Just like in Zootopia, they have that dumb, like, oh, well, you know, some people are prey and some people are predators. And so Lugosi is a nice, considerate, you know, loving wolf, and he actively wants to go against his interior nature and his instincts, you know. Mm-hmm. And that's it. And he goes to school, and he sort of, you know, spoilers for Beastars, obviously, but he like falls in love with this rabbit, and then, you know, just some different things occur. He's like a stagehand. That's the club he's in. He's a stagehand for like the theater club. And he's just sort of this soft-spoken, but he's one of the biggest predators there are. He's this big fucking wolf, like, and he grows throughout the show too, which is cool to see. He actually gets bigger and bigger because he's in high school, right? Mm-hmm. He's not a full-grown wolf yet, you know. So I mean, that's the basis of what Beastars is,
right?
We can talk about some different things.
Yeah, David, what was your initial, or both of you? What was y'all's initial thought go? Now, Kenny, I don't know if you had any. Were you exposed to it before it became an anime?
Yeah, I read the manga.
But long before it got adapted, or like after you heard it was getting adapted, or after it came out?
Semi-long, not like probably about 6 months before. Okay. I read it. I read to where the anime stopped. I read slightly after.
And Tibbs, did you have prior exposure?
No, so I heard of Beastars probably how the majority of people heard it. It was Netflix's next big, you know, popular anime, and I've been wanting to start it for a while. Then, about a month or two after thinking about it, I did. Then I became hooked.
Yep, that's pretty accurate. And yeah, same for me, which is weird. Like, I didn't hear about it until Kenny saw it suggested on Netflix and was like, we need to watch that. And I was like, absolutely not. That looks ridiculous. And then finally I was like, this looks stupid. And then finally I sat down one day and I said, let's just watch it. And my wife and I marathoned it very quickly. We were sucked in. We really, really liked it. So let's start kind of tearing apart. I think the biggest thing that's... Oh, Kenny?
The first thing I'd like to talk about, I think, is that I hate CGI animation. I think it ruined the new Berserk show. And I think that this is the very first time I ever felt really happy with the way that the animation worked and looked in this show. I thought it was awesome. I thought that maybe it's because they're not human, you know, and you don't have to do like a face is hard and CG and things like that. And because they're animals, you're like, oh, it's just an animal. But even in like the animation choices, I love the scenes where they just show the picture of their face, where it's Lugosi's face, and a scene is occurring and you're inside his head, and they're conversating in front of you. And which is, I think, a really cool. I think that a lot of the art direction of this show is very cool and very well done. And I think that for the first time, I didn't hate CGI animation. I don't know how you guys feel about it.
No, yeah, actually, Kenny, I think that's the intro statement, right? I think the big turnoff when someone pulls on Beastars or looks at it in their queue or sees it on Netflix is they're going to be turned away by the style, right? They're going to see that CGI and they're going to say, "Ee, why do they do that?" And Netflix is pretty notorious for choosing CGI anime as their some of their mainstream stuff, right? They've done Saint Seiya, Knights of Sidonia, Ajin. There's a couple others that have been all. Was Berserk a Netflix one or no?
No, it was on Crunchyroll, but it was bad.
But it was also CGI,
it was so bad.
And they did another recent CGI show that was like a popular show that got adapted and was like not well done. But CGI does not work in like 90% of the situations as a full-blown animation choice. And I think for the first time ever, Kenny, I fully agree with you. I was not off-put by it, and even more so, I think that it improved upon some of the manga panels in some way. The CGI actually made me like the scene setting and the appearance of the panels more, which surprised me because I've never had that experience with a CGI anime yet. And so I give Beastars so much props for finally nailing. The only other show that I want to say I watched and I enjoyed the show was Ajin. Did you guys watch that?
No, I didn't.
No. It's also Netflix, and it's CGI animated also. I also didn't mind it as much because there was sort of a creature aspect to it. It had sort of this dark and foreboding feel. They did a pretty good job with it. I still think it was a little bit off-putting, but it was manageable for Ajin, in my opinion. But Beastars was more than manageable. It was... I think it sets the standard for what CGI animation can look like for anime from this point forward. David, what do you think about the animation?
So the animation specifically, I really enjoyed it. As far as like 2D and CGI animation, I haven't seen a lot of CGI animations that were awful for me to have like, the opinion of, oh, these are bad. Mm-hmm. But it was definitely the first thing I noticed because usually with watching primarily 2D, mm-hmm. and seeing it wasn't difficult to see. I thought it wasn't choppy. There were moments when it's like kind of done, like the animation slow, but I feel like that was more of like a stylistic choice mm-hmm. rather than it being like a presentation CGI software that whatever. Mm-hmm. And moments where it is, quicker pace, like near the end when Goshi is fighting and badass panda. Holy shit!
The panda! The panda!
I'm just a
badass panda. I'm just a buff panda. Mm-hmm. But no, like seeing that whole like fight sequence in CGI, it was like fluid. It was beautiful. And when he goes like feral and he's running all over the place, it's probably the peak of animation for the entire show. Yeah, I would say.
Yeah, I think
during that part,
the two fight scenes, the one where the theater one where Lugosi's fighting Bill.
And
then whenever he goes and he fights that final tiger and he breathes in and he's like, it just does something to my muscles or whatever. And then I think that those are so kinetic, and I don't think that you could have done that with standard animation. I don't think that sort of, because it is, even they're animals, it's very human in the way that they move, right? Mm, it looks real, which is, I think, something that maybe only CGI can do.
Right. So I think it's time to talk about the story, because I think what blew me away about this show is that it did something storyline-wise that I'm not going to say that it hasn't been done before, right? Because in some ways, Zootopia did the exact same thing, yes. So it's hard to it's hard to not equate that. And I'm sure there are other stories that have taken this concept of whether it's race or whether it's other human characteristics, and then have essentially cast them onto animals or onto another thing, and then let us experience a very realistic, very human experience through the eyes of something that was not human. And I think that is something the show really did masterfully, which I was not expecting. Obviously, I went into it with actually pretty low expectations, and I think I was blown away by the fact that it nailed it every step of the way, from dialogue to story progression to pacing. This is the type of show that didn't pull any punches, right? So they took the time to actually flesh out all of the manga chapters they adapted. They took the time to really give us the moments with each of these characters. And I really got to give a credit to the author of the manga, because I did some research. In the manga, the anime are almost word for word, right? There's not a lot of adjustment as far as I know. And so it's a pretty accurate adaptation right to the end. So it clearly sets up for a season 2, which has already been confirmed. And they've pretty much just set it up like, here, we're going to adapt this amount of story. And I think that the whoever the animation director is that said, here's the chunk we're going to do for season 1, really picked a great chunk of story, because it feels like if season 1 was all we ever had, I think people could watch season 1 and be satisfied. It was a satisfying, comfortable ending. It felt like we progressed well. We had a lot of character progression, and it really sits with you. But again, the thing that really astounds me is the theming, right? So we have this theming of, I'm not saying that it was a direct comparison to race, which is what Zootopia did, but it did give us some idea of like stereotyping when it comes to prejudice and injustice. I mean, even involving like what was it? He was like the mayor, the lion that was like the mayor.
Yep.
That like had his hands like in the local mafia type dealings. That sort of stuff was very human. It was very real. But it was just cast onto animals to try to lighten that mood, but then also to be able to say like, look at these themes that we're able to draw out and relate back to us as audience members, which is the core word for the description of the story to me is relatable, right? We've all been to high school. We've all experienced high school. We've all been a part of something, a club, a group, maybe felt outcast, maybe dealt with this experience and had to follow through and get through it and still be strong or still be true to self. And that's what both of our main characters, Legoshi and I'm forgetting the bunny girl's name.
Haru.
Legoshi and Haru. I think that those are your two sides of that coin, right? They're both experiencing prejudice and outcastness in different manners as different sides of the coin, right? You know, Legoshi's a cannibal is that what they call them cannibals, right? Predators, yeah.
Carnivores.
Thank you. So he's a carnivore. He has these specific things cast onto him, and then she's a bunny. You know, she is
herbivore.
She's weak. She's easy to play with. Easy to mess with. She can be bullied. So far, So those are your two sides of that, but they're both experiencing similar emotions and similar experiences. So I got to give it to Beastars for knocking my socks off because I went into it with a super low expectations. And walked out of it going, damn, like that was a really well-crafted storyline. It wasn't particularly groundbreaking, but it was well-crafted is the word I would use.
Yeah. And I really liked there's the scene where they're in the cafeteria eating with each other. Oh, yeah. And she has she's like, every time he opens his mouth, I have this natural instinct to run. And that's almost like...
Is that when she's like tapping her foot too? Like
because she's
like really antsy. Yeah.
And it's like, in real life as humans we have innate biases within ourselves, and I think that showing it as a innate instinct and something that she slowly tries to like get over. I mean, obviously it doesn't happen within the show because like there's more story there, but the scene where they're in the love hotel and she tries to get eaten, and it's like there are these things that are innate, and we have to work to be able to be better as humans, as animals, just Absolutely. Like Legacy, who has this primal instinct to want to eat, but he as a being, he doesn't want that. He doesn't want to feel that way. And I think that his struggle is very real. And it's very human for him being a wolf. I think. And also, the music is great.
Music.
I know that we've been talking. I feel like every week we gush over the music, guys. But
the music is actually good.
Beastars
it's actually good.
Is top tier, boys. Holy crap!
Oh yeah, that the sweet piano coming in. Dun, 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 dun.
The intro with them dancing. I love the intro where they're dancing, dude. Like, my god,
yeah.
So
and. The intro is really, really cool, more so for the theme because it shows the constant struggle that Legoshi faces. Because like Kenny has mentioned, Legoshi, he's a wolf, and I don't know if it's like a Western thing, but we have like qualities that we put onto certain animals. So, like wolves are sly, cunning, they're deceitful. Bunnies like the fuck.
Yeah,
and apparently, and in the story, Legoshi isn't that at all. He's very caring. He's genuine. He is very shy. He doesn't like to be in the limelight or like put on stage, even though that literally does happen in the show. And a large part of the show, he's constantly having these internal monologues about like, why was I born this way? Like, I don't want to be what everyone sees me as. Like, I just want to be me. And like we've all said already too, is that it's very relatable because I'm sure everyone's had that type of conversation with themselves. It's like, I don't want to be this way. I don't want to be what people see me as. I just want to be me without judge. So Beastars has some pretty hard, heavy hitting themes, which I mean made me enjoy it the most because of that, of having those relatable, and especially like in today's day and age, like won't get into that specifically because we're an anime podcast, but it's perfect timing because it's continuing those conversations of racial biases and all those other types of assumptions and prejudices towards people.
I do like in Zootopia, it's just a predator or prey, and that's the racial divide. And I think that in this show, it's very clear, like different animals in particular are treated differently, right? Wolves in particular are treated very badly, and like they're thought of in a particular way. Whenever some predators, like he has the friend that's a dog, who is just like, people are normal around him, right? He, even though he's also a predator, just because Lugosi is a wolf, and Lugosi is a semi-imposing wolf. Like he's a big wolf.
I like the dog. Jack is the name of the dog. Yeah, I like the dog.
The Labrador.
Very cool kid.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Whenever he finds the rabbit porn, bro, he's like,
"Oh my god!" I
don't know my friend anymore.
I was like, bro, that's exactly what happens, right? No, I think there's a couple cool things I have to also get. I hate that we're just singing Beastars praises. We have to be. I'm going to try to be a little critical of it, but genuinely, I did love this
we'll
show.
Play devil's advocate.
We did love this show. I think all three of us probably really enjoyed it. So it's kind of tough for us to break it down because it really is well crafted. And one thing that I did not expect, and maybe you guys did, but I fully expected the show to ignore certain aspects of the world. Like I didn't expect eating in the world to ever be a component. Like in the first couple episodes, I didn't expect that to even come up. Like I thought they were just going to pretend like, obviously they eat. We're not going to go into much detail. But then when they actually got to the cafeteria and they explained like what they eat and how they eat, and I was like, oh my gosh, I was like, they serve vegetables to like I was like, this is a really interesting thing to tear out. And then the black market got introduced. And I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, they're not.
Whenever they did the guy's fingers, that was such a chilling.
Oh my god, yeah. You want to eat my fingers?
Bill was like, only 100 for a finger.
He was like, oh my god,
so bad.
What a deal,
Bill. Bill,
dude. That guy's a mess. Tigers. That guy's a mess, dude. His little blood.
Lugosi needs to open his mouth again, bro.
Just a bite, man. Just nibble,
bro. Bill is something else. He got problems, but. I really like that. I didn't expect the story to even delve into it. I thought it was going to ignore that to focus more on the high school drama aspect. But I'm really happy that the world influenced the plot as well. The world that they were in, the fact that they were animals wasn't just overlooked. It wasn't just. It's not just a placeholder, right? It's not just for us to go like, oh, they're animals. It's for us to actually see like, oh, this is a world that is fully fleshed out, that is filled with humanoid animals, right? This is an actual animal world. What does that look like? I thought that was so cool. I was like, God, I'm so happy they did that. What, Kenny?
I really loved Rui's arc. I think that Rui is definitely one of the best, most fully fleshed out characters.
Dear guy.
Okay, subs, don't they sub him as Luis, I think?
Yeah.
And I know it's RL.
Really?
It's like an RL thing. Like, how in Japan, R's and L's, they never know, like, I think that Netflix sub
Rui
put him as did they do Rui?
Rui is his name.
Okay, so I think that
this is hiragana. It says Rui.
Yeah, I think that either the sub or the manga or something, one of the translations switches it to Luis instead of
Luis? Wow.
Like Luis, Luis instead of
I think the English version just dubs him as Luis.
Yeah, Luis instead of Rui, which Rui makes sense to me too. I think that's still a pretty common Japanese name. But I think that Legacy also had some translation issues. So I think I've seen Legacy, like with a C-I at the end, and then I've seen Legoshi with like an S-H-Y. So I don't know
it's S-H-I. Legoshi.
I think I also saw one that said Regoshi with an R. So
Wikipedia has Regoshi.
Yeah, see, so I was like, that's one of those. A lot of these names kind of got lost in translation, which is unfortunate. Because I'm not sure.
Jack is Jakku.
Jack, well, that's probably Jack. I feel like there's not much. Jack's probably right.
Jakku, Jerry, they're two
Jakku.
I do love that different animals have different names too. I think that like that's just like in Attack on Titan, for instance. Like different characters from different regions are named differently because they're different ethnic
Right. Okay, so what was your comment about Luis, about Rui?
Rui he just has such a fully fleshed out arc. The fact that he couldn't speak, he was a product, and the fact that he still has his brand on his foot.
Obviously, spoilers for Beastars, but that when they revealed that in the back half of the show, I was like, and I never, I was like, God damn.
Yeah, I was like, this character's a piece of shit, and then of course, piece of shit characters, you make them human, you show why they're a piece of shit, and then you're like, it makes sense.
Yeah, you're like him. You love him. And then he kind of had a redemption back in the back half too.
Yeah. And did he die, or do you think he's still out there?
I think he died.
I don't. Really? I'm heartstrucken on it because I think my instinct wants to say that killing him off, choosing his death as the end of the season 1, is an intentional choice by the animation team because obviously the manga's gone farther and they know whether he's alive or not. I think I think that he's dead because I think it would take away maybe from some of the impact of they chose that intentionally as an ending. I think that's what my brain's telling me. But I also am like, it's anime, so he maybe could still be alive, and we're gonna have a moment where he's chained up in the lion place. They're like, tell us who that wolf is or some shit, and he's gonna be like, never. Well, I don't know. That's my.
Here's in that situation, he still had a gun, right? He easily could have killed those lions.
It was just him against 3 other lions.
Yeah, two lions, I think.
Or 2.
Yeah.
After their whole organization had been torn down by the panda.
It also maybe I'm thinking panda. Potentially I also said this to Alyssa when we were done. Maybe the panda got him on his way out.
Oh yeah.
I could see the next season picking up and Luis is very hurt, but resting at the panda's place, he's taking care of him or something. I think
that Rui and Legoshi didn't have a full final confrontation, and I think that still needs to happen. And even if it means that it's Legoshi coming to terms with the fact that Rui did die, but I think that a final confrontation between those two characters hadn't occurred yet. I think we had fully fleshed out Rui by that point, and I think that finally we can have their 2 different ideologies clash against each other.
Right.
Even though, we ended the season, obviously.
I am curious, what do you guys think about, so the first half of the show, the antagonist is kind of a mixture between Luis and Bill, right? Yeah. And then in the back half, it kind of shifts in that, Luis and Legoshi start to kind of get along. Bill maintains sort of this, I don't know what to call him, antagonist type role, but he's really not the main antagonist by any means. And then it just randomly shifts to, the Lion Mafia. And I remember kind of being that was a little bit of a jarring shift because it introduced the political side of it, and it introduced okay, there's more at play. And I was trying to, because I was Legoshi's not really, or at least going into it, I was he's not really a fighter, is he? And then he kicked ass, and I was I guess he is kind of a fighter.
He's strong, he is a strong gray wolf. When push comes to shove, he is that huge, imposing character.
Right.
Even if he uses his power for good,
Mm-hmm.
So
David.
I was just gonna say that I think it could probably be gotten away with because you can make the argument animals innate instinct to fight, to run away or whatever.
Right.
So, and a lot of what he was doing was just clawing and biting. So
you ain't wrong. That's true. And I think it's kind of a cool shift though, because I do have to remember that I'm not 100% sure, but I think this is a shonen. I think this runs in a shonen manga if I'm remembering correctly. It might even run in a seinen. But
it's in Weekly Shonen Champion.
Okay, yeah, it is targeted at a male audience, so I guess I wasn't surprised that there was action at some point, but I think that I was kind of more, oddly enough, I was more invested in the emotional battles that was happening between the characters. I really enjoyed Haru and Legoshi's back and forth. I thought that Luis being involved and also fucking Haru, which I'm damn, that bunny really does get around. I was oh, damn. She fucks
That's
rabbits.
what bunnies are known for.
I remember she, her whole thing was that for the first time people looked at her normally whenever they were having sex with her.
But I do
whenever they were vulnerable,
Yeah. I think the one critique I do have for the show is I think that it's going to have to, in season 2 especially, learn how to balance the action orientation of it with the emotional drama. Because I think that was the one thing, is that the shift was a bit jarring in the back half. And I think that it
was kind of sudden.
Yeah, it felt just a little... Again, I think the show is really well done. But I think that's one of the few things... And I think this is... and the anime, I actually think I managed it a little bit well by intertwining some of that darker action early. You know, when you get the moment with where they go to the black market the first time, he meets the panda the first time. Even the way that it was animated with the stage fight between Bill and, there was it was giving us that tension. So I don't think it was too bad, but I do think that there was a bit of an argument to be made that the story progressed a little bit quickly in the back end to give us that like Luis death scene. I think that the anime wanted us to get there, and they paced everything so well in the front half that they had to rush a bit in the back. But that's all it was. I think maybe they rushed a bit in the back, but not by much. That's my thought. What do you guys think?
And I like the stage fight, the first action sequence, the stage fight is sort of like, that's a natural conclusion. It's something that occurs naturally. He's just
right.
It's part of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
But then I think that the fact that he like breaks into a mob organization with like 50 lines.
Yes, You're like, feels a bit out of in the he shows up. He like shows up and like he fights a lion, and then like Panda Man shows up, and he's like boom boom boom, and they just like bust in, and they're like let's go, bro, let's go. And I'm like, are you kidding? Two people. I'm like,
I think it was like all in the span of one episode too, where Haru's kidnapped. Legoshi realizes who kidnaps her, and then goes to save her. I think that whole transition is like one. So it is pretty sudden.
Yeah.
Of a switch between what was happening at the time. Battle.
So we go from literally like drama club with the homies to like fighting the mob.
I do think that after the episode where they take the trip or whatever, and he's like, I haven't been outside in more than a year, and it feels weird. Like, and you have that sort of introduction to adults and how people act outside of the school and things like that. And I think that was supposed to begin to open up the manga. And I think that more so throughout, like now that they've opened the political side, I think that it becomes more important because it's still a continuing story.
Right.
But we had to end at some point, and that was, sort of where we
I think it was a good. I still have to give props to the ending. I think they picked a solid point to end. Okay, boys, who is your favorite characters from Beastars?
Legoshi, bro.
Legoshi. It's probably a basic answer, but he was
I loved him. Yeah. He was great. He was great the whole show. I would say Rui is my close second. I like good villain characters because you feel for Rui. He's better than Bill. If you were in Rui's situation, you would most likely come to the same conclusions. You know, and I think that whenever you write villains like that, that's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I think but Legoshi's just so fucking cool, bro.
Yeah.
He's too cool. He's too awesome.
Haru is like, I'll be the one to say it,
That's what I was about to say.
Haru.
I loved Haru. She's definitely my favorite.
I like Haru a lot too.
She's 100% my favorite.
Her and Legoshi's character arc are, and of course the show is focusing on them since they're the main characters, but seeing their, especially Legoshi's arc through this first season was a really cool thing.
Right.
How they like kind of start off like not really liking themselves and then ending with accepting who they are and just owning it going forward. Right. So
I loved it. I think Haru is like just, oh my gosh, she had my heart from the beginning. I was just like, I love this character. I think they did such a great job like making her emotionally like open. I think they did such a cool job with like her flashbacks in the back end too. I love to get to see that character get fleshed out. Her motivation and her purpose was really valid. She dealt with like, even the bullying scenes were just super well done. And even that opening scene in episode 1 where like Legoshi like wraps himself around her, I was so strung up in Haru's character development. And I think the author just made me like almost care for her as much as Legoshi is supposed to care for her. Right. Like we were feeling that same thing. So I am a Haru fanboy. I think that she is just my shining star. Legoshi is just an amazing character too. They did a great job with him, so I can't question that. And Jack was
Haru
my favorite side character. Haru's the mega waifu, dude. She is absolutely dab on him, the queen of the show. Kenny said he likes the Fox girl, but whatever.
I
yeah.
like
the wolf girl.
She was a cool character. I think that introducing in most romance mangas and anime, there's always that girl that's like, I'm in love with him. Like he's mine.
I love that man.
And I like that we finally got that. There is that,
That's what she did, David. She said,
yeah, I know.
That man's
She
mine.
did do that. She's just like,
He's
I'm
gonna
a
be
wolf.
mine.
He's a wolf. He's mine.
He's mine. That's my wolf.
I feel like she's going to probably be like a type of antagonist in season.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
I felt like they were building her to do that, to be that.
Right.
I mean, you have to understand that not everybody's static, and people will come along if you don't take advantage of people's feelings. Like if you don't embrace somebody's feelings for you, you're not gonna continue to be with them.
Right.
And if somebody else comes along and says, I love them and I want to be with them, and they're willing to prove it, you have to be able to take that leap. And I hope that that'll make Haru have that same feeling.
Yes.
That,
Haru has to have. Say it, Kitty.
She has to say, I want Legacy to be mine.
Boom. She's got to have.
I want to be with him.
Yeah, she kind of needs her.
Why can't you just have both?
Oh yeah.
This isn't an isekai.
Yeah, David. Wait. This ain't a harem, bro.
God, come on.
No, but
Come on,
guys? What about the real ultimate waifu of Beastars? The hen that sits next to him in class. The hen, dude. She makes the perfect eggs. She makes the perfect eggs.
The perfect eggs.
That was the funniest part. That was the funniest part in the entire fucking show.
Rolling.
I love that.
She was just an opener too. She was jogging too. She was jogging, dude. I was like, this girl works for her eggs. This hen puts in work.
Thin chicken legs.
I think that it had I think that was a great world building portion.
It was.
Like you said, the whole how do they eat? Like you don't think about that whenever you're writing a story, and I think the fact that the author did was
cool.
How do they eat? How do they function? What are and if there are primal instincts, obviously there's going to be an underground market. There's going to be all kinds of different things, and so I think that the fact that they took that angle, like they were like, and it explains, well, hens lay eggs and they donate them to different cafeterias or things like that. Or I think that's a good bit of world building that really helped sort of help you buy into what the show is selling you.
Absolutely. It blew that scene. I loved it. The hen, she's the real waifu, dude. That's what I'm saying, dude. She's the waifu. No,
she makes the best eggs, man.
Okay, boys.
It legit was my favorite scene.
Yeah, it was really funny. It was really well done, and
it was just like a good breakaway from. I think there was something serious happening at the time too.
Yeah.
So it was like a good breakaway to have something comedic happen before going back in.
And I liked it a lot. Okay, so closing thoughts. What do y'all? I mean, what's your final thoughts, boys, on Beastars?
I really enjoyed it. If you like anime, you should watch it. It's only 12 episodes. It's not a huge binge. It's on Netflix. I mean, everybody has Netflix. So, you should check it out if you haven't seen it. Obviously, if we spoiled it, sorry. But, I would say the same thing at the beginning. Check it out. It's a good anime. I really enjoy it.
Yep.
Honestly, fuck those people that say if you watch Beastars, you a furry. Okay, one, we don't kink shame here. And two, if you are a furry, who cares? And watching a show does not make you a furry. It makes you woke because it introduces you to a lot of shit that's happening. So I am real. So I'd recommend watching it. Characters are great, animation's great, music's great, all across the board, everything's great. And season 2 comes out in January, apparently, if this Wikipedia article is right. So
I believe so.
Watch season 1 and then so watch season 1 now and then get excited for season 2.
Oh yes, boys. Yeah, and that's same sentiment across the board. It's one of those shows that really dragged me in. I didn't expect it to. You got to give it a shot. Don't sleep on it because it's CGI. Don't sleep on it because it has animals and think it's about furries. Don't sleep on this show for reasons like that you think you might not like it. Give it a try because it's a very well-paced, strong drama that it's really focused on. It at its core, it's one of those shows that is a drama, which is interesting with action interspersed. Which makes it a really powerful shonen anime. It's not really a harem. It's not really a mystery thriller. It's more of a drama. We're more entwined with the characters and their purpose and being. Again, I think our only critique is the back half kind of speeding up a little bit and giving that a little too fast paced switch. But other than that, I think the character development is spot on. The writing and dialogue is incredibly well done. And like David said, it makes you woke, my dudes. So stick it. Let's Beastars it. Okay, boys, let's give our ratings out of 10.
On 3?
On 3. Are we going to do it?
Oh, yeah.
I think we're going to have slightly different ratings.
Wait, sorry,
Okay, ready?
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 8.5.
7.5.
I got 8.
Damn. Okay, that's good. Okay.
Okay.
So 7.5 to 8.5. So I had 7.5. Kenny said 8. David said 8.5. I think that's a perfect range. I think that I only dropped it a little bit more just because I feel weird giving away 8s that easily. I feel like 8, 9, 10 is like the god tier, and Beastars is very good and could probably become that with more seasons. 7.5 is where I landed. Kenny and David, you guys feel similar?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think that 8 is a great anime, and you should check it out. I think that if I rate something an 8, you should watch it, right? Yeah. I really think that you should watch it. And I'm not saying that, like, anything, lower numbers are shit that I like to watch, There are some things that I just enjoy watching that are not very good, and maybe you shouldn't watch them. But 8 is definitely 7, 8 are absolutely you should watch them.
Right.
Yeah, I think I've given everything so far 8s and 7s.
Yeah.
That's like a general range for.
Remember, we all pretty much.
I really liked it. What?
We all get Tower of God below a 6. Yeah,
Tower of God got
like below a 6. Yeah. We dabbed on Tower of God. Oh, and
all except for Tower of God. But no, I think like for me, like 7s to 8s, it's just like that general range is just that I really liked it. I feel a majority of people who watched it would all. So
100%. Okay, cool. Kenny?
I would say like a 5 is like, if you have similar interests to me, you should check it out. And then anything below that is like, I don't know.
Sometimes we can tell people to watch something that doesn't exactly meet that standard. So, all right, boys. So that was great. Let's jump right in. Let's not hold back. Let's talk about our second. So Beastars, a great cleanser there. Good thing to talk about because it's really popular right now. People are talking about it. But this next show is kind of under the radar is the word I would use, right? So the next show we're going to talk about is called Wotakoi. It's hard to love as an otaku or something like that, right? And it's based off a webcomic, according to David's research. And overall, I'll let Kenny do the quick summary, but it is Amazon Prime if you want to watch it streaming in the US. So if you've got Amazon Prime, check it out streaming on there. But Kenny, tell us what's Wotakoi about?
So Wotakoi is about older. I think they're 26, 27, 28. Our characters are fully grown business people, and they work together, but they are otakus, and each of them deal with that differently. And the main set of characters are 2 couples. The main couple and our main characters are Narumi and Hirotaka. They're both childhood friends that have reconnected because they now work at the same job, and they all work together at the same job, and they all have different interests they have different main categories they're otakus for, right? Narumi likes anime and manga, boys love and yaoi. Hirotaka likes anything video games. Koyanagi likes cosplay, and also she enjoys boys love. And then Kumbakarna, what's his name?
I don't know. They call them
they're
Sakuragi?
Because they call them Bakuragi.
Oh wait, no, that's not him.
Koyanagi.
Koyanagi.
That's the girl.
Is that?
Yeah.
Oh, Kabakura.
Yes.
Sorry.
They called him Bakakura. Bakakura is what they kept calling him.
Yeah. Kabakura is one of my favorites because he likes girly and he loves shoujo.
Yeah.
And it's one of the fun, and he's like the most serious character in the show. So it's just about how otakus sort of find love in one another, because Narumi in the beginning makes it very clear that she separates her life, where her otaku side is completely hidden from those that are not otaku. And she slowly finds love in Hirotaka, her childhood friend, and they begin dating throughout the show. And they're both otaku, and she finally can be herself around a partner. And I think that's really, it's really nice, and it's fun, it's funny, and it's sweet. So I really enjoyed it, obviously. So we want to get into...
Yeah, let's get into the deets. So, the big thing about Wotakoi, from my perspective, this is a show that is not... It's in the slice of life genre. So if you're an anime watcher and you don't know what slice of life is, this is gonna be a tough like entry point for an anime show for you, because this is not a plot heavy. It's not really even like a dialogue heavy show, is the way I would put it. This is a show that centers around very menial and very like day-to-day experiences that people have. And that's sort of that's the power of a show like this. And there are lots of really popular slice of life. K-On! Is one that a lot of people love in the slice of life genre. There are tons of wonderful slice of life shows, and Wotakoi kind of falls into that same. It gives you that same like sort of heartwarming feeling that you're going to get from any major slice of life show. It captures the day-to-day in a spectacular way, like in a way that's very fun. And I think that's what made it a lot of fun to watch. It reminds me, and this is like this is not a great comparison, so you guys can catch me on this, but to me it's like if you took the concept of an American sitcom like The Office or Community or Parks and Rec, and you take this idea of like, let's just hang out with some characters in a normal setting and then adapt it for anime and then also make them all weebs. That's pretty much what Wotakoi is, with a lot of inside jokes that nerds and weebs are going to understand. While if this is not the type of show that if it were to air on NBC, it would make no sense. This is not a relatable show for most people. There's a lot of inside jokes and a lot of inside content that makes it really fun for anime fans or fans that are really just nerds in general. So I think that's what kind of gives
a similar comparison to be like Big Bang Theory. Kind of.
Yeah, actually, that's not a bad comparison, David. Yeah, Big Bang Theory sort of has that sort of niche appeal that's maybe a little more in that area, but sitcom-y. It's very sitcom-y. It's the type of show you can put on, enjoy it, kind of let it play. You don't have to pay full attention to it, and still you can grasp what's going on because they're just sort of hanging out, doing this, that, and the other. But I think that's kind of where its charm comes from, and I think that's what, to me at least, the overarching theme of Wotakoi is just this idea that love is a little more. It's not as romanticized as we want it to be, and it's not as beautiful as we want it to be because of the movies or the TV shows we watch, but instead, it's just a normal and endearing experience that occurs in very normal circumstances amongst people who share things in common and have a shared interest. So I think that's where the show really shines, is that it highlights that a lot of people don't just fall in love. They fall in love because they have things that they relate to each other on. And there's a really great episode where I loved that episode where they go to the theme park and they try to restrict their conversation around nerdy stuff, and they realize that they hated it. They it was the most miserable experience for them, when she comes out at the end and she's just like, all I want to do is talk about the episode of the anime and my favorite character, what happened, and it was so endearing to see that our shared love of something can bring us closer together. And it reminds us why we love anime and why the communities around the things we love are such an integral part of our lives, because we like to fill our lives with the things that we enjoy and the things that make us happy. So that episode for real was very charming, very, very strong presentation. Boys, what do you think? That's my general thoughts. That's my initial thoughts.
I do think oftentimes slice of lives are always in high school. And I think that for once, they're all adults and they drink and they hang out.
They're our age, David.
They're our age.
Yeah, they go to the bar.
They drink, they hang out. I think that, and I love that sex is not a super important the kissing thing or the That's not a suit, because it's you're an adult. Yes, adult relationships, people have sex. That's just a so. Whenever they're in high school, it's this super fetishized oh my God, they touched me. Oh my God, they're getting naked. Oh my God, everything is so, everything, and it's really not the scene where she's shit. As soon as he's hey, do you want to come over tonight? And she's what color underwear am I wearing?
Yeah, and I love that too.
You're I know that as a guy, it probably is different for a girl, but as a guy, I know that intentionally, if I know that I'm going to hang out with someone, I don't wear my shitty underwear. I'm not gonna wear. wear my underwear that I just wear to hang out. I'm gonna put something on that doesn't look like shit.
You never know.
Right. You never know. If my pants are coming off, I don't want to be like, oh yeah, these are my bosses.
These are my underwear, where my balls hang out the bottom.
Yeah. And I think that it's such a real I don't know, and I just love that they're adults. They're not kids, and it's such a endearing sort of love that is portrayed throughout the show. And I definitely want more of it, but eventually we'll get there, hopefully.
Yeah.
David,
I think for me, I think this is so this is probably the first slice of life anime I've ever seen. So going into it, I didn't know that it was a slice of life, but as I'm watching, I'm noticing every episode is just them going to work, them getting drinks, and then them going over to what's his name, Hirotaka's house to play video games or just hang out. And there's no real plot, there's no real issues or conflict. They're just hanging out, but you still see their relationships strengthen as the show's going on, which is, as Jerry summarized it perfectly, it's just like a sitcom. You're just watching ordinary people doing ordinary things. The thing that makes them special is that they're hard. And I'm sure for all of us as we're watching it, it's super relatable. Super relatable for any anime lover, because whenever we go out to the real world, like going out to a bar or some kind of social event where there's a lot of normies that are hanging around.
They even call them normies, which was so funny.
Normies,
I caught that,
they call them normies in the show. And also a tangent, I don't know if otaku culture is how it was reflected in the anime. If it's like a taboo, like, oh, this person's otaku. But I guess it kind of makes sense because it's kind of like that here, where if a normal person or average person, I don't know how best to define that, but an average Joe Schmo were to interact or meet someone that was obsessed with anime or obsessed with yaoi or shoujo, they would probably be really weirded out. So it's super relatable as an anime lover to see that and see people have those genuine fears of like, oh, like I love this thing that's socially not really accepted. How do I maneuver this? And so it was cool to just to see that the characters were all really cool. I think the most part, the biggest thing for me was just how chill and relaxed the show itself was. But it's also very funny. I wasn't expecting to laugh as much as I did. Just genuinely laugh at a lot of the things that were happening.
It was pretty. Yeah, so it was cool. Very funny. I thought the comedy held its own really well. I also agreed with you. I don't think that I went into it just expecting it to be like endearing, maybe a little charming, but I didn't expect it to be as like laugh out loud funny. But it really did end up being pretty funny, which is cool. But again, it's the inside jokes, right? Like we all, as Alyssa and I were watching it, there were so many moments where we were like, oh my gosh, like we had moments like that because we were adults and we're adults that both like anime, and we've gone to new jobs or new places and had to like ease our way into like, oh, do they like anime? Are there people there that like anime? And trying to figure that out. So it was so just, I think, comedic watching them maneuver these scenarios. And like I said, I think that just the standout episode is really the theme park arc, I guess, because there was actually it was a 2-parter, I think, technically. Yeah. Because it led into. Do you want to go on a date? Yeah, like the date arc, as I would call it. It's kind of the only kind of connected part you have there, other than the back end introducing his little brother and then the little brother's love interest as well. But I actually would. I think that the introduction of Naoya and that developing relationship is something that if you're a normie out there, Naoya is so considerate of other people, and I love the scenes where he just sits down. And because he's lived with his brother for so long, who's a game otaku, who's like, why do you interrupt me whenever I'm in the middle of a boss fight? Why, and he sits down and he's like, I'll just wait. And he's like, I'm here to talk to you and I want to hang out with you, but I know that you're into what you're doing. I love that. And he's so considerate of what they enjoy and he's just like, I want to be friends with you. Like, what's up? How are you? I don't want you to be, disconnected from other people, and I'll sit here next to you while you play games. Like, I don't mind doing that,
Perfect soul.
Yeah, I love
Perfect Angel.
I loved his scene where he was playing games with him and he was just straight trash. Like he was the worst one. I was like, this dude. I was like, damn it.
What do I do?
I was like, damn it, that's me. I was like, I suck at games usually. So I was like,
you're more like Narumi with games.
Yeah, maybe. But I love that. What, Kenny?
As someone who I'm a Narumi, okay, I don't want people to know that I stay up until 4 a.m. reading manga. I don't.
Kenny hides it, dude. Kenny hides it.
I watched all Toradora this week for no reason. I do some unhealthy things whenever it comes to anime, and I don't like to tell people that. I don't like to tell people that I have a waifu. I don't like.
That's
like. I actually, Jerry, I wanted to put more anime pops. This is my only anime pop that I own. This is the only one. The rest of them are Guardian of the Galaxy characters. I have basketball players. I have Flashes, and then some Disney characters.
Yeah, you did sell off a lot of your anime though, since I moved down here and we had a lot of the same ones. So you did sell a lot of your anime ones. But
and I think that there's a lot of anime that I don't talk about it with other people. I don't, it has always been something that I keep completely separate from everything else, and I think that seeing Narumi do that is I'm like, shit. Especially because I'm absolutely as crazy as she is about it.
Yes.
Like, she's like, I love boys love and yaoi, and you're like, and
I mean, it's like the same thing with like people that are like K-pop fans that like, people get obsessed over not just the music but the artists, the companies, the individual singers. I mean, it's like that with, you can say that about any fan.
Yeah.
I think and I don't really know how it started or where it's from, but like for some reason with like anime and video games, that whole, and K-pop fans too, I would say, at least in the Western audience, those fandoms are looked at as, at least from what I've experienced and what I think, looked at as like the I don't know, the ugly redheaded stepsister, just like kind of just shunned away. As
I think nerd culture has become more mainstream, as
slowly but surely.
Right, Marvel movies are the biggest thing in the fucking world, and I still think that anime is like this, like
it's still like the unspoken. Yeah, it's like the don't talk about that. Don't tell your friends you like anime. Yeah, because that's weird. Because when we were in middle school, David, like I think back to the mid 2000s, the mid 2010, like around that time. And I think about how, like, even then, like, comic books were not cool. Like, it was still, like, uncool to like comic books and to be, like, a nerd, like a comic book nerd, which is, like, so weird to me because you can even see that portrayed, like, in films like Superbad, where, like, you can see that, like, the nerd was, like, a type, And now and I would say it's 10 years of Marvel movies that have really done it, but, 10 years of Marvel movies transformed the comic book nerd to like the mainstream. Like all of a sudden, normies, as they put it in Wotakoi, normies wear Marvel stuff all the time because it's no longer weird to like that. It's just like liking a character.
It's like mainstream.
It's just like if you like The Matrix or if you like some other action film that came out, The Terminator. These are things that that are just cool movies that were out. And so like now Marvel movies are in that same vein, which has helped to transform what it means to be a comic book fan. I think that, unfortunately, anime hasn't really had its moment yet, where I think it's grown, and that's what we've seen in the West. And even Wotakoi, kind of, to me, is like an experience that finding other anime fans is more common now. You're able to ease into that a little bit easier. Wotakoi kind of like imagines that into reality a little bit, and even just seeing like the reactions of Hirotaka's little brother, and it's more acceptable. It's not that weird. And so Wotakoi does a good job of integrating that, but I really am surprised because if anime ever has its moment, and it's with Ghost in the Shell, even though it got critically panned, it had a moment, right? We had a giant big screen anime movie,
Alita Battle Angel,
Speed Racer, Alita. These are big giant films that were put out that are not terrible. Alita's good. I like to.
My Hero and Dragon Ball Z had theater movies,
right? And Dragon Ball Super's Broly movie was like a huge success in America in the theaters, which doesn't surprise me, right? Because all the kids who grew up watching Dragon Ball are now in their 20s, 30s. They're now in that buying age, and now
have a family. They're taking their kids.
So now, and that's the power of the 90s, where anime was finally on TV. You know, it was on TV when we were kids in the 90s and 2000s, and now it's a little more acceptable because adults are still fans, or they have fond memories of it at least, which is super strange and cool. But maybe it makes Wotakoi, but I think that Wotakoi captured the honesty of it still. Like, another great scene is like when they go to the convention and just the experiences they have at the Comiket. And I think that I was like, oh yeah, that feels like a modern convention, especially with like a boys love table and her being like a boys love author or whatever, which I wish they would touch on more. I wish Narumi had more moments to talk about like her manga. She's like a mangaka, low key. So I was like, dang, I kind of wanted more of that.
It's like Koyonagi she's a for real famous cosplayer.
Yeah. And I was like,
dude. Yeah.
But yeah, I think that it captures that feeling. But I do want to critique it a little bit. I think that one thing about Wotakoi that deserves a bit of critique is that and this is just the nature of a slice of life show, right? It's a lower budget production, and that's just something you have to kind of expect going in. This is not the level of animation you're used to in like a Beastars or a My Hero, or, you know, it's not a full-blown sort of extravaganza as you would expect. And so because of that, you get a lot of still shots, you get a lot of moments where really only the mouth is moving. You get a lot of moments where the colors are really not all there. You get a lot of moments where the music is really pretty low bar. I mean, I love the opening song, but the music as a whole is pretty. The opening and ending are awesome, but the music throughout the show is pretty standard. It's a pretty standard. It's a pretty standard score, if that makes any sense. And overall, I think the shining parts to me were the voice acting, which I think that the voice actors really nailed it for the Japanese. We watched it in Japanese. I assume all of us did.
Yeah, Narumi's voice actor, so great. And
be surprised,
just like the range of like when she's like very serious and she's like gets really low, or
Narumi and
like very high pitch
are both voiced by newbies to being seiyus. They've only been in about 2 or 3 different shows each. Very new, fresh seiyus there. And the other two,
is a Japanese voice actor.
Arisa Date.
Oh yeah. The voice actors for those two, but the voice actors for the other two are like prolific voice actors. I can't remember. I want to say the guy who plays Kabakura is the guy who played Todoroki in My Hero. I think it is. I think it's the same guy.
I'm gonna say I recognize Koyonagi.
Oh, he's done a lot. Holy shit!
Kabakura's voice actor is pretty.
He's Escanor.
Yeah. Kabakura is pretty well known. So yeah, and Koyonagi is also pretty well known. She's been in some stuff we've definitely heard. But yeah, so I think the voice acting talent, and I want to hope that the two prolific actors really help to elevate the newbies, and that's why we got such great performances out of them. Hirotaka and Narumi especially just nailed it. Like, I think that they nailed and captivated me in a lot of their one-to-one dialogue. And if you guys didn't know, in Japan, they actually usually will film dialogue, unlike in America, where one person goes into a booth and delivers all their lines, and then it all gets stitched together. In Japan, they actually will bring the whole cast in and do it all together. They'll film it together, record it together.
I feel like that's so much better.
Yeah,
I don't know why we don't do it like that.
Yeah, Americans are just so busy. And also, it's a bit more of a high-profile job in Japan, if that makes any sense. Like, if you're a seiyuu in Japan, that's like, you have to go to school for it. Like, there's a very specific college program, collegiate program there, and it's a very, like, high-profile, it's a career, you know, it's like a high-profile career.
Right.
In America, being an anime voice actor is not really a real thing. You kind of are an actor, and then maybe do voice acting on the side, or if you are a full-time voice actor, you're still not, like, famous by any means. You know, even, like, the biggest voice actors are really not the ones that do it just for anime, that is. You know, you have some...
And generally, they're like employed by the company, and they produce shows, and like they do a handful of different things that isn't just voice acting.
Yeah. So it's very interesting to think about that. I mean, you do have some... Like, Jim Cummings is like a very prolific American voice actor. Do you guys know who Jim Cummings is?
Yeah.
Sounds familiar.
He's like one of the major Disney voice... You know, he played Winnie the Pooh.
Right, that's what I was thinking.
He's pretty much in every Disney production, every Disney TV show. And, you know, he is a very iconic voice actor who does a lot of voices across so many roles.
Tom Kenny, Tara Strong.
Yes, there are some people who are in bigger productions. Those are
Erica Lindbeck.
Those are lifelong voice actors, American voice actors that certainly exist. Stephen Blum transitioned from anime into the mainstream voice acting, and now does, he's in all cartoons, all TV shows, all this other stuff. So it's interesting, but that just doesn't really exist as much in America. It's much more. It happens a lot more in Japan, so they get to film all this stuff in a booth. And I think that most likely the more veteran, more veteran voice actors help to elevate the performance, and you see that a lot. Like the other two, Kabakura and what's her name, Koyanagi. The two of them really had also stellar performances. I think about the scene. Yeah. I don't remember which episode this was on, but the scene where they're at the bar and Kabakura kind of pisses off Koyanagi, and she's a little bit drunk, but then she storms out. Narumi goes out to support her, and they kind of have a girls' moment, but she's kind of breaking down. Doesn't like that her and Kabakura fight all the time. I thought that was a really, really tactful, surprisingly, in the middle of what's essentially a show about, anime figures having big tits and not using anime words at the theme park. That was a really tense moment I think that the voice actors elevated that scene. And despite the limited animation, the limited musical score, you still were able to have a really good moment there. And
it's a scene that because she knew his interests are women that are sort of the cutesy, cutesy girls, and she's not that. Yeah. And there's that sort of I know that you love and you see, your main interests revolve around things that are not me. And it makes her jealous or upset, and which is understandable. If I was my waifu is, I love Lucina and you're not Lucina, I could understand where you could be well, why do you even like me? Or with Hirotaka, where he likes big titty girls, and Narumi is not that. And
that's a character trait.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's tough.
I really did like this show. I think that this is a show that's just really easy and laid back, and it's fun. It's one of those shows that I don't know if I would ever like. This is a type of anime that is tough to suggest to someone to watch unless you know that they're into this type of anime, if that makes sense. This is not, because in reality, there's no plot per se. There's nothing really overarching. Yes, things that happen in episode 1 are still active in episode, them get, the characters develop, things that happen obviously still impact the way they react later, but overall they're not working towards something. It's just sort of living. And so because of that, it is sort of a tougher show. If I would never sit down and say oh, you've never watched anime before? Check out Wotakoi. No, if someone was really into anime and they like stuff like this would be, Wotakoi is a really solid, charming little show that is worth a watch. But it's definitely not it is not your go-to suggestion anime, that's for sure. But yeah, boys,
a pretty big weeb, and even some of the references went over my head.
Yeah,
and that's because I even was able. I got the Kantai collection one, obviously the JoJo's and the.
There was a lot of JoJo's references, low key.
Yeah, lots of JoJo's references. What's the gambling show?
Kaiji. There was a Kaiji reference.
Kaiji reference.
There was a Kaiji.
I didn't get any of the references.
But there were some that I was like, "Who is that?" Let me look that up real quick.
I looked at one thing. You remember when there was an episode, Koyanagi bought Kabakura off by buying him a figure, and I was like,
he bought him a Christmas gift.
Yeah,
limited edition one.
I didn't know what it was, so I looked it up. It was something from either I think from a visual novel or a something like that from one of those type of series.
Whenever she dresses him up as a girl, the thing that he gets is a figurine from the Kantai collection, which is the girls that are ships.
Oh, okay, yeah. Is that an anime or is it a visual novel? Because I thought
it's a phone game.
Okay, yeah. I knew it was something that was because I looked it up. That was the one that
girls are ships.
Yeah,
both.
Yeah,
the whole point of the game. It's a gacha game where you collect girls that are.
Japan did what?
No. I gotta download it right now.
It's a gacha, bro. So look out. Gacha games scare me. Okay,
you better be careful. Gacha. David knows his fair share of gacha games.
I've had my fair share of gacha.
Remember, right next to this gets played every single day by our brother.
Oh yeah, I forgot you played Break. Okay, yeah, but I don't know if there's much more to say on Wotakoi, just because it's not, it's not really a show that you can dive much deeper. I think we highlighted the main, like the power, the good. Was there any other scenes you guys felt are worth mentioning that we haven't talked on?
So we didn't really talk about a lot of the scenes that they had while they were at work. So, I feel like in their work environment was when we saw them trying to be as normal as possible. The most that it would stray away from that would be when I keep forgetting, when Hirotaka would be playing his game. Like the second it becomes lunchtime, he's playing his game.
Oh, I love that moment. Yeah, his switch is out.
Right, yeah, it switches. Yeah, we kind of see them, and again, this is just slice of life, like it being super relatable. These people doing these basic desk jobs, and then the second that they're out of work, they can like take a huge sigh of relief and like be who they are. So it's just interesting again to see even more relatability with myself and the characters of like, because whenever I'm at work, like I feel like I have to be like in a serious mode, be aware of how I'm presenting myself, being too weeby or myself. Then once work is done, then I breathe that sigh of relief, and I can be who I really am. So
yeah, 100%. That's a really great point, and I think it definitely adds to the charm of Wotakoi. It adds to the like I enjoyed this nature of it, right? When you have those moments with the show, so
yeah, because you're like, that's me.
Yeah,
that's what I deal with.
Yeah, I love that. And then what do you guys think about the ending? Because there really wasn't an ending, is the word I would use. That I think that was kind of it just kind of cuts off, right?
It just stopped. Yeah, I was like, that sucks. But like it being a slice of life, I don't know how that works in terms of there being arcs. So I didn't even know if it was supposed to have an ending, or if it's once season 2 starts, it's just going to go right back into where we left off without
probably.
So
yeah,
most
and I think that
slice of life are like that.
Yeah, I just think they could have felt, and maybe this is just me, but like, I think the anime had a solid spot they could have used as an ending, and to me that would have been the episode where they have the bar breakdown. I think that had they just adjusted, I think they could have adapted the 2 stories from the last episode, which were oddly more focused on Hirotaka's little brother, which I thought was really odd to switch.
And they added them to the opening.
I think if they did. Oh yeah, good note, Kenny. I realized that as well. I think if they had just shifted those 2 episodes earlier and let the 2 episodes before that serve as sort of like a proto ending, I thought that would have been at least a little bit more of a satisfying ending. I imagine they're just following the manga's timeline, but with a slice of life, with a slice of life, you can kind of mix, because the stories don't really have to happen in chronological order. You can kind of shift and adapt. So I'm surprised the anime didn't take some liberty there and kind of go for either the date 2-parter being the finale, or the episode where they the breakdown in the bar being the finale, because I think those were a little bit better just closing episodes is the word I would use, because the actual closer was the I don't even remember what the actual last
it's the walk in the park after they go on vacation. It shows Koyanagi and Kabakura spending their vacation time together at home.
Oh, geez.
And then Hirotaka and Narumi walk back through the park, and he says, well, I didn't have friends. And then it finally leaves you on whenever Naoya is like, well, my brother got to date his first love. Yeah. And he gives him the death glare. And
I didn't hate, you're right. I don't hate that, but I just hated that the episode prior was like all about Naoya. And then like the first half of the last episode also, I think, had a bit of that arc. And then he got interweaved. It's like, I get it that he's like the character we're building up with now, but I think if you would just like let us have a Narumi, Hirotaka, and Koyanagi and Kabakura finale, and then let Naoya just kind of exist as a character that happened in the first season that we'll get more into in season 2. I think I would have liked that a little bit better. But again, I think that you're right, Kenny. I'm remembering it now. I think that the last scene works though, right? Because you do get some closure on the fact that they're just going to keep existing and loving each other in where we are now, right? They're happy. They're happily still together and a couple. Is that the one where they did the finale also have the one where Koyanagi calls her on the phone?
Yes.
And they're reading the manga.
She's making food, and
they're both just like spinning the data. Oh yeah. It was a cute one. It did feel cute. There was a cuteness to it, but I don't think
it was kind of like, tied with a bow at the end of like togetherness of all them interacting.
Yeah.
It just stopped being.
despite some of the ups and downs the season had, we still get the tight little bow at the end. It's kind of what it feels like, which is like, oh, cool. You know, people can be upset, you know, because we had some moments where people were upset and people were disgruntled, but it came back around and they were happy. But yeah, I don't know. I just didn't like the brothers' whole little arc. I'm okay with it though. I'm not mad.
Did you think it was weird that they introduced a assumingly major character like 2 to 3 episodes before the season ended?
Yes, I did. That's what I was going to say.
With Nayo's like love, yeah.
I guess he's one of the mains as well. Oh, Kenny, you're muted.
Oh, I'm muted.
Oh, I hear you.
She's a female, Jerry.
You're back now. I think your voice just stitched out for a second, but I can hear you.
Yeah. I just it's just they're just adapting what's coming up. You know, I don't think that it's too bad. It's a slice of life. Like, you know, we're just gonna check back in right where we were whenever it's fully released, or that's it. You know. You know what you're getting into, and if people just want to jump to the webtoon or the online comic or whatever it is, that's totally fine. I know that I draw a big connection between this and another slice of life romance one that I like, which is Horimiya, and I like that the characters are together, right?
What is it? What is it called?
In Horimiya, which is a manga that I read. Okay. The characters very quickly become in a relationship, and the show is more about their relationship and not about them getting together, like a classic shonen romance like Nisekoi, where it waits until the very end of the show for them to finally be like, I want to be with you.
Yeah,
but it happens much earlier and much more real, I guess. Earlier on.
Yeah, it's interesting.
I like that.
It's like if you look at a show like The Office, right, where you have 3 full seasons of like Jim and Pam trying to get together. Then all of a sudden you have like 3 full seasons of them like being together. And then by the end they're like parents, wedded with kids, and like, you know, you get this whole arc. And I think that Wotakoi and these types of shows give you that opportunity to just kind of like live with a character over time. So I think that's why we watch them, right? We like that peek into. But okay, last thing I want to chat on about this is that I officially like hate Amazon Prime's like viewing platform, guys. Like, it's so miserable. The app sucks so bad. Sorry, this is my last. I'm tired of Amazon Prime.
Do you guys still get ads? Because like I'm an Amazon Prime member and I get ads.
Do you really?
Whenever I start the very first show of the night, there's like a 20-second ad and then that's it. But like, why is there an ad in the first?
No, you're right. I get that same ad too. Yeah, it's like an initial.
It's like an ad for the Girl Scouts show.
Yeah. You still get
or some other Prime.
Same thing happens on HBO. You pay for HBO and you'll still get like an initial ad, which is stupid. They'll even like hardwire the ad into the HBO show.
Into the show.
Yeah, stupid.
That's illegal.
It's Amazon. Yeah, that's illegal.
It's not illegal.
Amazon Prime, you're illegal.
That's illegal.
Yeah, I don't know why that happens, but I just hate the player. Like the skip intro button never fucking works. The fast forward button, because you know these Wotakoi has after credit scenes. So, you know, you had to scroll past the credits to watch the ending, and every time Alyssa and I would try to scroll past it, and it would accidentally go to the next episode, and I'd have to like back it up. I'd have to like fast forward through the whole.
That happened to me so many times too. I would have to like go back to the previous episode and then fast forward all the way to the end.
I was like, Amazon Prime, you are ass, dude.
Scene.
I hate that.
I'm so used to it. I wait till the next time pops up. You press B, then you can fast forward.
Kenny's got it down. Why can't we, Jerry?
I'm so good at skipping opening songs too, if I need to. Like, I mean, just fast forward the correct amount of time exactly.
That is true. They're always a minute and a half. So if you've got that 10-second button skip or whatever, like most players have, you literally just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then it'll be right at the end. Yes, I do that all the time when I'm watching.
I didn't skip the opening in the show. So.
Yeah, this one I skipped it a couple times, but.
I only skip the endings.
I like the intro.
I never skip the opening.
The opening for Wotakoi is like so awesome. I love the opening for this show. It's definitely
I sing it every time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorite opening. It's also catchy as hell. But okay, boys, let's give it a rating. My rating's gonna be, I don't know. I'm curious what you guys are gonna rank it, but yeah.
I need to stop. I need to like.
David's is gonna be like 15 out of 10.
No,
Vampire Night out of 10. No.
I need to rethink my range because I want to. It's a 1 to 10. I need to start using more numbers in the range.
Yeah, you've got more range there. Yeah.
So,
okay. Count us down, David.
I think I know. Okay. All right.
Kenny, you know where you're ranking it?
I already figured it.
Okay. Ready?
Right. 3, 2, 1, 6.5.
6. Solid 6.
I don't want
Okay, good job,
rate
guys.
it too high. You know, it's a good anime. You should check it out, but it's not bad. But it's not an amazing anime, and I would sing its praises for the rest of my life. But,
Right. This is a show that I could casually suggest to someone who's a fan of anime, and they might have a good time with it over the course of 2 or 3 afternoons. It's only 11 episodes, so you might have a good time with it over the course of a week. It's not something you're going to rush out to buy all the toys for. It's not something you're going to feel 10 years from now really change your life. But it's definitely it's a fun little experience, and it's a good little story. But solid 6, it's above average. But again, I also was just disappointed, and I get it, slice of life, but just animation and the score of the show was a little bit weak on the low budget side, as expected with something like this. But it just makes it a little less enjoyable. And David, what was yours?
Yeah, I mean, like for me, just because like I've seen quite a bit of anime and I like this, like I'm excited to see future episodes. Mm-hmm. I think there might be a good percentage of people that, because like with the show, there's nothing that's really keeping you other than your just own want and curiosity of seeing how their lives are, forward. There's no real, major enemy or things that are comparable to a shonen. It's slice of life, so it's just people living. So it's
I love
that's
it.
what slice of life is. So I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, but I mean, it's just mediocre. And something I didn't mention before, there were some moments where it was just like boring.
Yeah.
It's there weren't really any jokes or big things happening. It's just them working. So you're just kind of waiting until a good part arrives. So yeah, I mean, I think 6.5 is good. It's not awful, it's not terrible, but it's not amazing, extraordinary.
Absolutely. Wotakoi, watchable entertainment for weebs. That's what it is. Okay, so Kenny, I believe it's time for our new weekly segment that Kenny likes to call. What do you call it, Kenny? When Shonen Anime
Unraveled, I guess.
Yeah, Shonen Anime Unraveled.
No, wait. Let's call it when Shonen Anime should just end. Okay.
When Shonen Anime should just end by Kenny.
Goes too fucking long.
As I say every week, sometimes Shonen Anime are just focused on getting serialization, that their whole plot is not really laid out, it seems, and so they just sort of spiral out of control. This week we're going to talk about GANTZ on our way out. In GANTZ, it's a story of 2 guys who die at the beginning and then are granted a chance to be resurrected through this guy inside of a big orb named GANTZ. And they have to fight these aliens that are invading their planet. And they use these different weapons and things. Well, here's the thing. Once you get 100 points, which you can earn from defeating these aliens, you are allowed to be resurrected and you no longer have to play this game. If you die in the game, you die forever because you're already dead, technically. So, guess what? They end up earning their lives back sometimes. Well, first of all, our character earns the other guy's life back because he dies just before they finally earn their 100th point. But then, later on, our character has a love interest who we meet very early on. But also, he has a second love interest. And that second love interest earns a second amount of 100 points and resurrects him a second time. So now you have 2 of the protagonists that exist within the world. There are 2 of the same character. So then we get into the final arc of the show where this big planet of aliens are finally invading the planet, and we have to constantly check back in with both of our protagonists because he's 2 separate characters in 2 different locations on this weird alien invasion ship. And it just begins to make no sense.
Yeah.
And you're just like, they fly around in these buster armors that you can earn if you spend your points on them. And why is there a guy in an orb? And they're aliens? It just very quickly spirals out of control.
That's crazy.
And once there's 2 protagonists, you're like, which one is he? Which character am I looking at?
Jesus.
So that's what happens in GANTZ. Spoilers for GANTZ.
Hey, I just want to say I can't remember her name, but the second K's, the girl that resurrected K,
the idol lady. Yeah.
she's waifu. Oh my god, waifu.
You're not main girl?
No,
No,
that girl,
no,
waifu.
waifu material.
It's so.
I fucking love
so
GANTZ for those that are listening. GANTZ
I
is
think
one of my
GANTZ is a
favorites.
ton of fun. I think it's one of my favorites.
It's a good ride.
Fun, for
I
sure,
think it's
Plot's
worth
kind of
reading the
ass,
manga. I didn't love it.
but
Yeah,
plot's kind of ass,
kinda
but
ass.
it's a good time. The live action, I like the live action. It wasn't
I
bad.
haven't seen the live action, but I think the manga is the best way to consume GANTZ. The anime just doesn't do it for me. But I think if you want to go and relive GANTZ, go read the manga. That's the way to enjoy it.
Sometimes manga should just end though. So
And GANTZ probably should have ended way earlier. It lasted for a long time, way past
time.
way past it.
Something I was going to mention, but I forgot. Did you guys know that Wotakoi, Love is Hard for Otaku, has a live action adaptation?
No, I want to watch it.
Yeah, it has a live action movie.
Oh,
There's also an
that sounds
OVA.
like fun.
If y'all wanted to check out,
I've been thinking about. There's
young-
2 episodes in the OVA, right, Kenny? It's like 2 OVAs. Yeah.
One,
Oh, is it on Amazon Prime?
No, the
I don't
OVA's
think so.
on there. You have to go elsewhere for the OVA. But yeah, Kenny, thank you again for our shonen anime that goes on to
probably should just end.
shonen anime probably should just end. Hope you guys
Even
enjoyed
though
it. If you've seen
GANTZ is
GANTZ,
staying in, but
if you've seen GANTZ, you probably know. If you haven't or have a chance, hopefully this maybe piques your interest or makes you realize you want to pass on it. But okay, guys, so let's talk about next week, next episode, next time on the Uncensored Anime Podcast. We're gonna be bringing in our good friend, our little brother, me and Kenny's little brother, family of many brothers. We're gonna be bringing in our buddy Mikey, and he's gonna be helping us talk about JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. We're going to be debriefing the first 2 parts of JoJo's, what makes JoJo's special, why has JoJo's been able to persist for as long as it has, and we're going to talk about what sort of history JoJo's as an anime and as a shonen has, but we really want to talk about those first 2 arcs because those first 2 arcs set a standard, and I think it'll be fun to watch that and get the perspective of our youngest brother, who is the most disconnected from when JoJo's first aired, who has finally been able to experience JoJo's for the first time in its current state, and also just to bring in all of our perspectives. Kenny and I, as big JoJo's Bizarre Adventure fans, we're big fans of all of the series that have come out, and David, who will also have his first experience with JoJo's. So, should be a lot of fun, should be a blast. I hope you guys tune in next time and
we're going to be
have
watching
fun.
Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency.
Yeah, so part 1 and 2, Phantom Blood and Battle Tendency. We won't be getting into the most popular part, which is Stardust Crusaders. We might have some offhanded mentions of it, as Mikey has been watching that. And David, most likely, knowing David, will probably start watching parts of it, because once he watches parts 1 and 2,
right now,
he'll probably get into part 3 also. So I fully expect that. So we might talk a little bit about it, but we really want to talk about what it means as a legacy. So hopefully join us next week, guys, and that should be a lot of fun. Other than that, boys, you got any closing thoughts, or are we going to wrap this puppy up?
That's it.
All right. Thank you again, everyone, for
brother.
joining in and joining us for the Uncensored Anime Podcast. I hope you subscribe, follow us on our socials. We'll be sharing new episodes hopefully once a week of just the 3 of us weebing out, talking about stuff, and deep diving some anime, guys. So hope to see you guys again. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next time. Peace.